¿La plena aceptación de nosotros mismos nos convierte en mejores personas o no necesariamente?
I mean, I can only speak from my experience. I don't want to theorize. I can only really ever talk about my experience and how this understanding, this knowing, this remembering has changed my life. It's certainly. I mean, I came from a place years ago. You know, I used to hate myself, like in the most deep way. I was reviled by myself. I was repulsed by myself. I wanted to die, all the time. And so I can compare myself now, actually, with how I was then. And it's really the opposite. It's the opposite. So what happened was this. I mean, kindness towards myself. That's kind of where it all began. I began to become very kind towards myself, understanding, first of all, that I am presence, understanding that I am life itself, I am consciousness, whatever word you want to use. And then understanding that every thought, every sensation, every feeling is deeply welcome within me. All the feelings and thoughts that I used to be so ashamed of, I used to think were wrong and bad and sinful and ugly, that I used to be trying to run away from or hide or repress, With this understanding, I started to see that actually all these thoughts, sensations, feelings, even the fear, the sadness, the anger, even the deep feelings of emptiness or despair or longings, they were all meant to be here. They're all sacred. They're not dark. They're not sinful. They're not ugly. They're not shameful. Even the shame wasn't shameful. Even the shame, even the guilt, and all these different thoughts and fantasies and all these strange thoughts I used to have, thoughts I was so ashamed of, thoughts I thought I shouldn't think. It turns out, they're just thoughts. They're all meant to be here. It's just the mind. It's not. There's no shame. It's like the mind is just this incredible movie that's playing itself out all the time. Sad scenes, frightening scenes, scary scenes. So it was just discovering this deep inner permission, this deep freedom for every thought, every sensation in the body, every feeling. That was the origin of great compassion for myself, first of all, great kindness. And then over the years, it was a journey, but because I was now able to allow the anger in myself, the fear in myself, the longing, the deep longings, even those deepest, darkest longings, the longing to die, like even that had its place in me. It wasn't none of these forms are who I am. They don't define me, but they're all allowed. They're all friends. They're all welcome. They're all movements of the sacredness. There's no shame. Even if there's shame, there's no shame. I'm not ashamed of there's shame. It's all welcome. It was such a relief to no longer have to pretend to be this perfect being, this enlightened being, this being. Oh, I'm free from anger. I'm free from all that nonsense. It was such a relief, a massive relief, to just be able to be exactly what I was. And not have to pretend anymore or try and be something else. I was always trying to be something else. So that compassion, it began within myself, kindness to myself, able to hold every thought, sensation, feeling within myself, and therefore I began to be able to hold that in others. I wasn't, because of course what you don't love in yourself, you can't love in others. What you hate in yourself, you will hate in others. What you run away from in yourself, you will run away from in others. What you try to destroy in yourself, you will try to destroy in others, and that's the origin of all evil in this world. What we can't touch in ourselves, what we turn away from in ourselves, we will turn away from it in others, and ultimately we'll try to destroy others or hurt others just because we can't be with ourselves. So it all begins here. So yeah, in a way there's two ways of talking about it. From an absolute perspective, it hasn't changed my life at all. I am consciousness, presence, whatever the next word we want to use is. There's so many words: presence, life. I think we can get so caught up in the words, What I am is, say, consciousness. That hasn't changed. I am conscious. I was that when I was born. I will be that when I die and after. From the absolute perspective, it's not a question of becoming a better person or not. I am what I am. You are what you are. You will always be that. I've always been. That's one conversation. But from the relative perspective, from the human perspective, you could say that understanding that I am presence, which is love. began to really just permeate throughout this human expression. The human, that divinity began to permeate throughout the human experience. So yeah, on that sense, I could say, I don't know, because I don't really think about myself very much. You may have to ask people who know me, but my sense of it is I have become a more compassionate, softer, more able to listen, more able to be present. I have fewer enemies. My life was full of enemies. I don't seem to have any enemies. I think the violence seems to have been removed from my life. It doesn't mean there still aren't challenges and difficult feelings to feel. For example, my father died a few months ago, and he had Alzheimer's for a few years, and that process was really incredible. And I was his carer for a while, and sometimes it was very challenging to be with him, and watching his mind decay, and brought up some feelings of great sadness sometimes, or helplessness, or a few times frustration. But really, I was so grateful that I've been on this path. I was able to just, even if for a moment I would forget, and I would kind of blame him in my mind. He is this, he is that. He is bad, he is wrong, he is stupid. Very quickly, because I've been on this path for so long, I would notice, oh no, I'm making it about him, like I'm judging him, I'm blaming him, which I don't want to do. It doesn't feel loving, it doesn't feel natural, And then I would very quickly be able to bring my attention back here and take care of what wants to be taken care of. But frustration isn't a mistake, sadness isn't a mistake. It just wants to be felt. So from that perspective, I can really, first of all, I can thank my father for everyone is your guru. My dad was bringing up in me what wanted to be felt, wanted to be touched. But yeah, I'm so grateful that I'm on this path, that I didn't fall into blame and attacking Dad and making him wrong and shaming him. Oh, you idiot! That's what we see that a lot, especially with people, families with someone with Alzheimer's in the family. It's too easy to blame them, to shame them, to make them wrong because they're not acting the way you want them to act. So I'm so grateful that I'm on this path, and I was able to just stay here and take care of myself, to feel the sadness, and it passes. When you really feel it, it passes. To allow the thoughts to be here without believing them, just seeing them as just thoughts. Oh, Dad's this, Dad's that, but just being aware of those thoughts. I was able to find a place of great peace, really. Even it was a very challenging time, but I really was able to find this place of great peace, and therefore able just to really be with my dad, and had some wonderful moments with him, really. And then the moment he died, the day he died, I was just able to just fully be there, like fully present, without going into my mind and past and future, just really be there. So yeah, I think it's made me a better person. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's not something I think about a lot. I'm just assuming it's made me a better person. You have to ask. You have to ask people who know me.
Yeah. Bueno, menos es un estado que da mayor empatía con las personas.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. Because deep down, I know we're all the same. Jesus Christ, we're all the same. We're all the same. We pretend to be so different. We're all the same fears, the same longings, the same loneliness, the same feelings of abandonment. All there, and there's no shame in that. We try to cover it up and run away from it, but that's what gives me so much empathy for people. Just seeing beyond their story. Hey, if you're sad, it's okay. If you're angry, it's okay. If you're afraid, it's really okay. Seeing the you're just like me. I know, everything is familiar to me. I know fear. You long to die. Yeah, I know that. You long for freedom. Yeah, I know that place. I know you, you know. We're not so different. I know you.
¿En qué consiste honrar la propia oscuridad? ¿Cómo podemos hacerlo sin quedar atrapados en ella?
Well, first of all, I don't see darkness within us. I think that's the mind, you know. Just for example, say there's, you know, we notice that we're afraid, that there's fear in us. Fear is just an energy. Anger is just an energy. Sadness, these are just energy. They're very natural energies. Problem is, we learned probably as children that maybe sadness was wrong. It was wrong to feel sad, or it was a sign of weakness to feel sad, or maybe when we were sad, our parents, you know, judged us, or they punished us, or they told us we shouldn't be sad, or they tried to, and they say you shouldn't be sad, you should be happy, you know, or they just didn't. Maybe our parents just didn't see that we were sad, so we didn't even. We just in so many ways we just came to think that sadness was wrong somehow or bad. You know, maybe we learned to cover up our sadness and just pretend to be happy all the time to please others. So we became people pleasers, and then we were scared that if we reveal our sadness, we will lose love, or we'll be judged, or we'll be rejected. Which for a child, of course, is like death. It's terrifying. It's terrifying. So we learn in so many ways that the sadness shouldn't be here. So then we start to think sadness must be dark. It must be negative. Or maybe it's a sin. You know, you know, maybe it's a certain feeling, a certain urge, a certain desire. We call it sinful. Or then we go into our minds. You know, this is all the mind now. And then we come up with all these. Or maybe the devil. You know, maybe the devil put this thought here, or this urge here, or this feeling here. So what's basically, it's all different versions of what's wrong with me. So the truth is the feeling, like the sadness, for example, it was never dark, it was never negative, it was never wrong, it was never evil, it was never any of these things. It was just life. It was life energy. It was the same. It's the same life that moves the planets and, you know, grows the flowers and the trees. It's the same life that emerges as what we call the energy, like sadness, for example. So the most important thing is to come out of the mind and all its stories, its narratives, its myths, all thinking about that. That's all thinking about the sadness. And the invitation is to really come out of the past and future and bring attention in the present moment, in the safety of the present moment. Bring attention to the sadness, or whatever it is. Become curious about it without judging it, without trying to make it go away. You know, come closer to your body. Feel the energy. Feel the sensations in your belly, in your chest, in your throat. You know, start to allow those sensations. Breathe into them. You start to realize that they're just sensations. They're just sensations. They're just sensations that maybe as kids, maybe as children, we weren't able to feel. No one taught us how to feel them, or we were made to think that we were wrong or bad or naughty or sinful or evil for having those sensations. But it was all a lie. It was all a lie. You know, there's the shame is learnt. It doesn't come naturally to us, you know. We're taught to fear ourselves. We're taught to hate ourselves. We're taught to turn against ourselves. And the wonderful thing is, because we learn that, we can unlearn it. We can unlearn it. And really, I guess that's, you know, all the work I do is about that. It's unlearning the shaming, the you know, the running away. So it's, in the end, it's not about getting rid of dark. We never get rid of darkness. We just come to see it was never darkness. It was never darkness. There is no darkness in us. There is no darkness in us. You know, something is only dark when we call it dark, and then run away from it. So that's always the story of the seeker: is how do I get away from the dark and towards the light? And I guess in so many ways that's what I do, is I break apart that myth that there's darkness. I have to move from the darkness to the light. Actually, you begin to discover there is no darkness. There is no darkness. There's the imagination of darkness.
Dices que en realidad no encajamos en sociedad y que tampoco debemos pretenderlo. ¿Puedes explicar un poco este concepto?
Well, I don't know why anyone would want to fit in. Yeah, I mean, as a kid, I never felt like I fit in. Well, of course you can't fit in. Because you're a complete original. You're an original expression of life. How can you fit in? I think that from very young, that's the idea we get, is I have to fit in. I have to adapt myself, change myself, hide parts of myself in order to fit in and therefore win love or to avoid punishment. So fitting in becomes like life or death, But in the end, it becomes exhausting to try and fit in. You just start to become fascinated once again with this with this unique expression. I mean, and this is the paradox of life. That on an absolute level, we are consciousness. We're all the same ocean. I am what you are. It's not this ocean and that ocean. It's this one ocean of consciousness. So that's true. But at the same time, there's all these incredible, unique, never to be repeated waves arising in the ocean. So there's this wave and that wave and that wave and that wave. And as in our wave nature, we're completely unique and irreplaceable and never to be repeated. And so we're one. To quote U2, we're one, but we're not the same. And it's a total paradox. It's a total paradox. So as oneness, we all fit in already. I mean, from birth, we already fit in because we're all the same. Because we're all the same ocean, so we already fit in. Like on the deepest level, we already fit in. But as a wave, you never want to fit in. You just want to be this completely unique expression of the ocean. Like this Jeff character is a completely unique expression. When I was young, I was always trying to crush it. I was always trying to hide it and be like everybody else. And I think that's why I became so depressed and wanted to die, because I was turning away from this beautiful, unique expression, trying to be like them and them and them and them, to fit in, to win love, to not die. And the irony is in trying to fit in, I crushed myself. I felt dead. I felt more dead than ever, trying to fit in, trying to please others. It's all about pleasing others. And I felt dead, and I wanted to die. And I was completely ignoring myself. I was neglecting myself. I wasn't paying attention to this, So at some point, the whole thing broke down, through suicidal depression. The whole thing, it's a long story, but the whole thing broke down. I lost all interest in fitting in going that way for love. That's an old pattern. I have to go out for love. Love is over there, and I have to win it. I have to fight for it. I have to adapt myself for it. I have to deny myself for it. So the paradigm changed completely, and now no. Love begins here, and I don't have to try to fit in to win it. What I am is presence, is love itself, and that love can infuse every part of my experience, every thought, every sensation, every feeling. All my uniqueness is flushed with divinity, and then there's no question of fitting in. It's just not interesting anymore. And in a way, those are the two things that I'm often reminding people of. Is one, that you are life itself, you are presence, you are the ocean. But at the same time, and the second thing I remind people of is you are a completely unique wave. Don't try to be like anybody else. You weren't meant to be like anybody else. Life created you as a complete unique expression. And that's life delights in that, creating all these incredibly unique expressions, whilst at the same time all being the one expression. So it's a complete paradox, and you drive yourself crazy if you try to understand it. And it's such a relief that you don't have to understand it. It can be a paradox, like it can be a mystery. It can be completely non-understandable. It can be completely mysterious. We're one and we're not the same. So stop trying to fit in. That's my message.
Okay.
Because you'll never be able to anyway. You'll never be able to.